You join us now in the foyer. Now, of course, I'm joined by Stephen Mercer. Stephen, you are an expert in all things winter gardens. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Just talk to us a bit about these boards behind us, because people, as they walk in, they'll see these boards all the time, but what are they, and what are they about, and what are they for?
It's one of the most important pieces of history that's on show for anybody that comes in through the entranceway, the Church Street entrance anyway. They do have to pass this, which is the Roll of Honour. It was set up really to honour those performers that have been on the stage, have somehow performed within the Winter Gardens. You've got an amazing list of who's who, all the way from 1889 right up to date. And some of the names that are on here are just outstanding, not just for the stage, but also for the screen. So we have stars at the stage, we have movie stars as well. I mean, just looking, the very first name is an actor playwright, Wilson Barrett. But then you can move on through the years and you can spot just big names that people will recognize, from Lily Langtry in 1901 all the way through to Gracie Fields in 1931. The names are just amazing. We can go throughout all these years pointing out so many. Many will know them. Some, maybe younger folks, won't. Not until we get to the later years, but it is an important part of our history.
So, of course, this was set up at the start of the Opera House, when the Opera House first opened.
This Opera House now is the third incarnation. The first Opera House, it was designed by Frank Matcham. It opened in 1889. But then in 1910, they closed that theatre and they did some renovation work. It opened a year later. But then in 1938, it became apparent that it wasn't big enough. People were being turned away, wanted to come and see many of the shows. So they decided to do something that, I guess, nowadays, it would never happen. They demolished a Frank Matcham designed theatre. Of course, back in those days, it was just a theatre that happened to be designed by Frank Matcham, not as revered as it is today. So they opened the current Art Deco style theatre in 1939. They created this board so that they could show the stars from all of those theatres, all the way through from 1889 right up to date.
So, of course, we were talking about names earlier. There is a name on there that it doesn't appear. It's an iconic name. He's been to Blackpool. He's been here.
I think I know who you mean. We're talking about Frank Sinatra.
Of course.
One of the most well-known names throughout the whole of the world. Yes, he did perform here. Why isn't he on the Roll of Honour? Originally, this was set up for performers who were from the UK and Ireland. If you weren't from here, you didn't go on to the Roll of Honour. It has changed over the years, because although it was for individuals, it then changed because we had many more ensemble type shows, such as 42nd Street back in 1991, Starlight Express in 2012, Cats in 2003. And rather than having a huge name, it was a full cast of stars. So they had to make some changes, but yes, it is something that people notice. Why isn't Old Blue Eyes on the Roll of Honour? And that is the reason, plain and simple.
So these shows now, these big West End shows that are coming to the Winter Gardens, over the last few years, like you said, from 1991, 42nd Street, the likes of A Christmas Carol, Mamma Mia, all these big names, they come here and they are the sort of the stars of modern day in a way.
They're the stars of Blackpool. And that's what Blackpool is famous for, entertaining. And the Winter Gardens is an integral part of that history of entertaining. So whether it was an individual or whether it was a show, that can now be included on the Roll of Honour.
And moving on to modern times,
yes,
the modern board that we can see just over in front of us. Some iconic names on there, but also, again, the Royal Variety performance appearing. Something that is so prestigious and that Blackpool has hosted a couple of times now.
Well, we were the first theatre outside of London to host the Royal Variety back in 1955. Then it came back again in 2009, And then it came back a third time. The only theatre outside of London to have hosted it more than twice is the Opera House. And the last time it was here was 2020. A very different type of Royal Variety performance. It was during COVID times. So although we didn't have an audience, it was still broadcast to the nation through television.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Stephen. We
You're very
really
welcome.
appreciate it. And it's great to learn about the history of this board. And hopefully we can get more names on there in the future.
There will be more to appear, I am sure. Thank you.